The last type of quadratic function that we're going to study is in what's called standard form. Standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Notice there are no parentheses in standard form. And it's the form that the calculator gives us when we ask it to write an equation. Our essential question today is how do we interpret the graph of a quadratic function? We're going to graph the quadratic functions in standard form and identify all of that essential information that we've been doing with the other two forms this unit. Starting off with our graph on Desmos, we need to identify the vertex. We want to identify the x-intercepts as well as the y-intercept. The vertex for this function was at 3, 8, and the y-intercept was at 0, -1. Those two x-intercepts were not very pretty. So we will just write them once at the bottom where we get all of the information organized. First of all, the domain for all quadratic functions always is all real numbers. Our graph opens down, so our range is y is less than or equal to the y coordinate of the vertex. Our vertex was at 3, 8. The y-intercept was at 0, -1. And those x-intercepts were not very good numbers. They were both decimals. Looking at Desmos one more time, those x-intercepts were 0.172 and 5.828. Again, those x-intercepts were 0.172 and 5.828. Here's our next quadratic function that we're going to graph. Here's the graph of our second equation. And again, we want to determine what the vertex of our equation is, as well as the y-intercept. And in this case, notice that our graph does not cross the x-axis. Our parabola opens up, and the vertex is above the x-axis, so we have no x-intercepts on this one. Our vertex is 2, 1, and our y-intercept is 0, 9. Sketching this function. We had a vertex at 2, 1, and a y-intercept at 0, 9. Getting this information from the graph, the domain for all quadratic functions is always all real numbers. Our range, our graph opens up, so it's greater than or equal to the y-coordinate of the vertex. We had no x-intercepts. Our graph did not cross the x-axis. Our y-intercept up at 0, 9. And finally, the vertex of our graph was at 2, 1. One more graph. And here's our final graph, identifying the vertex, our two x-intercepts, and our y-intercept. Sketching this one. We had a vertex at -2, 4. And a y-intercept at 0, -8. The domain for all quadratic functions is always all real numbers. The range, our graph opens down this time, so its y is less than or equal to the y-coordinate of the vertex. The y-intercept 0, -8. Our vertex was at -2, 4. And again, those x-intercepts weren't very pretty, so let's go back to Desmos and see what those were again. -3.155 and -0.845. Again, those x-intercepts were -3.155 and -0.845. And you have one U-try question. Use Desmos to graph it and identify the essential information.